Hello and welcome to Film du Siècle, the film and media channel focused on all things 90s and 2000s. This week, Seb and Olly will be discussing The Mummy Returns.
Hello and welcome back to Film du Siècle, the film and media discussion channel where we talk about all things 1990s through 2000s. And we're continuing...
Do you have to say that every time? It's already been said in the intro.
Yeah, but this is the intro, Ollie.
Well, yeah, but before that there's the pre-recorded intro where I'm clearly just saying film titles and putting it and pasting it into the pre-recorded
People have short memories.
Yeah, but that's short though?
Yeah. Some of them. Anyway, we're continuing with Fraser February in the month of March, and about Brendan Fraser, not Fraser the show.
Yeah.
With The Mummy Returns, or Mummy 2 as I've been calling it until I realised that it actually has a different name.
Yes.
Never seen it in my life. This is what I know. All the same cast as before, same director comes back, and I think...
The crew as well.
What? Who?
The crew as well, apparently.
The same crew? Brilliant. So we're going to have some nice continuity.
I used to watch a making-of documentary that was on after the video, and Oded Fair mentioned that Stephen did the crew back as well.
No, that's really good. And I believe that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is new for this one, isn't he?
Yeah, I think this was his first major movie.
I was going to ask that. I could have sworn this was like his first big acting role.
Yeah. I mean, I knew who The Rock was at the time. I was still very young. My brother was the one who was into wrestling at this point, but I knew who The Rock was.
Well, yeah, I think everybody who's been alive in the last 20 years know who The Rock is.
Yeah.
He's just one of those people. But I believe this one's quite famous for having bad CGI in reference to The Rock. Am I right?
Yes, you are. You are quite correct, sir.
These are the only things I know about this movie. Also, it looks by the poster like they're giving that one red shirt who survived the events of the previous movie a bigger role in this one.
One red shirt who survived?
You know, the tattoo face man.
Oh, him, yeah, Oded Fair.
Oded Fair, yeah.
He's not a red shirt, he was the leader of the Order.
Oh, I know, but I kind of assumed he was going to be at the time. I assumed he was going to survive the movie, and he did.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't originally going to, but Stephen Sommers thought that was a bit of a downer ending, so...
It would be, wouldn't it?
He inexplicably survives. Like, we still don't know how he got out.
Resourceful. I don't know, he got better. That's as good an excuse as any. Hopefully he survives this one. I'm looking forward to this, because the last one definitely exceeded my expectations. You can find a link to that previous video here.
My memories of this movie are a lot more familiar, because this was the second DVD my family ever owned.
The first being the original Mummy, I'd assume.
No, the first was Gladiator.
Oh, that was a popular one on the shelves. Widescreen edition.
Yeah, I had to ask Mum for the VHS copy of The Mummy because I wanted to watch it one day. Not for an occasion, I just saw it in a video shop and said, Mum, can I get that?
You don't need an excuse.
I got lucky that one day and managed to get myself a video copy of The Mummy.
Nice. Oh, I remember my VHSs. I had all the Bonds. Had some of the Simpsons.
So I'm actually more familiar with this one, as well as the PS2 game, which was one of the first PS2 games I had. Where you could play as Rick or Imhotep, and you could choose which side you wanted to take and who you wanted to win eventually.
Oh no, you spoiled that Imhotep's going to return.
I think there's a big clue in the title.
Oh yeah, The Mummy Returns. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I bet that video game didn't hold a candle to the Babe 2 video game.
I've never played the Babe 2 video game, but...
Honestly, the Babe 2 video game, one of the best video games of all time. It was honestly the Dark Souls of Babe. Seriously.
I remember in the Mummy Returns video game, I really liked levitating up the random mooks that you fight as Imhotep and draining them, even though he can only do that to people who opened the chest. But it restored you, and it made the evil campaign easier, and it was cool to do.
So basically, the evil campaign is the part of the game that's worth playing.
Well, I think I did both eventually, but it was so long ago. play that again now just to refamiliarize myself. But um, I don't know. Perhaps we will on the channel.
Yeah, are there many video games we can?
Yeah, we've been talking about doing stuff like that.
Yeah, hopefully we will. So what are your particular memories about this movie? I know you said that you got the DVD and then you also got the video of the first one.
I remember this being the first movie where I noticed surround sound was coming from different places. like, like there's a bit where I think you hear a branch snap, or it sounds like branch snapping. I don't remember what was actually happening, and I heard it behind me. I was like, bloody hell. Yeah.
You know, that serves people right for not chopping down a Christmas tree sooner.
I'm not sure if it was a branch snapping or just something caving in a temple. I can't remember.
Wait, you watched this movie in a temple?
This film is set like 9-10 years after the first one.
Yeah.
Everyone's back.
Have they aged 9 or 10 years though?
No. No, they don't look much older at all.
Ancient Egyptian sun cream, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly Tatooine, is it?
No. Because let's face it, if you live there, you're going to age like 40 years in 10.
Yeah. I remember liking the soundtrack.
Yeah.
There was a particular piece happening in like fast-paced moments that I thought was good.
Had its earworm.
Yep. A good part of the beginning is set in London, so there's recognisable things like a double-decker bus and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, Chaz and Dave.
I think there's a bit more of a focus on slightly goofy comedy in this one.
Yeah, I think they realised what worked for the last one.
Yeah, it's a bit more wacky. I don't know whether I'd probably say it's not as The Mummy, but I found it just as enjoyable.
Yeah, I know a lot of people have said that they consider it to be on par with the original, which is quite good for a sequel, to be fair, because a lot of sequels aren't.
Yeah. See The Mummy 3.
Well, yeah, I hear that as well. Speaking of which...
Or don't!
Very odd aside, I'm going to mention it briefly on the channel, even though neither movie comes within our time period, but I saw Coming to America yesterday, as in the second Coming to America movie.
I've been meaning to watch that. Is it good?
Weird question, because it's basically just doing all the same jokes from the first one, but with a new story. But you don't really mind. It's an odd one.
I see.
I think it's good. I enjoyed it anyway. It's just amazing that they took this movie that nobody's really been asking for a sequel for, and they made a sequel of it. But they got all the original cast back together, barring like one or two people. It's amazing how many of the people from the original were still alive, actually. I don't think anybody's passed away. Okay, one actress has, but other than that, they've got the entire original cast back. They do a lot of retread jokes, but you don't mind because they're good jokes, and it's interesting. I don't know if anyone asked for this movie, but I'm not sad it exists. It's probably worth checking out.
I'll give that a look. That was Seb's aside review of Coming to America.
See, you're getting 2 reviews in one video. This is fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of getting the original cast back, I still want an original cast Mummy 4, even though the third one wasn't so good.
This is where the two things link. It wasn't irrelevant me bringing this up, because if that can happen with Coming to America all those years later, then The Mummy 4 with the original cast can happen.
Yes, and I hope it does one day.
Me too. Yeah, I feel like that movie was just an opportunity to have a reunion of the original cast. And it felt like a reunion that they just filmed, if that makes sense.
Oh, why not?
But it's not poorer for it. You can tell they had a lot of fun making it and they enjoyed seeing each other again, so...
Yeah.
It can't be doing
Why
bad
not,
thing.
indeed?
Right, let's check this movie out, the one we're reviewing today.
Okay, The Mummy returns. We will see you after the credits roll.
But we'll be back with our thoughts. See you soon. And we're back, having watched The Mummy Returns. So, what do you think, Ollie?
Well, it was your first time watching it. You tell me.
Did I like the movie? Yes, quite a lot, actually. It was very fun, very entertaining. A lot more humorous than the last one was, actually.
Yeah, if not as good a film.
Yeah, it's probably like 90% of what the first one was. It still had its moments. Like we were saying earlier, it's got the callbacks. And what were you saying earlier, Ollie, about the callbacks?
Oh, right, yeah. I said you couldn't accuse this one of retreading the plot because the callbacks are there, like with the domino pillars instead of the bookcases at
I
the
was so
beginning.
happy when I saw that, and it was the
Yeah.
kid who did it. It was the kid this time.
And the I can't figure out this last symbol, and it's the same symbol, and callbacks are all there, but they don't retread the plot at all because when it comes to Imhotep, they sort of get his resurrection and regeneration out of the way as quick as they can because it's something that needs to happen for him to be a threat.
Yeah, we've seen it all before. We don't need to see it again. They did that
Yeah.
just right, and I liked that.
They've got those Cockney villains with that one guy that isn't Cockney that looks a little bit like Roman Reigns.
Yeah, the main Cockney guy was basically Ulysses Claw, except in this movie.
They just get them to open the chest, lock him in a room with him, regenerated, done.
It was that simple this time, and I was like, the Cockney gang are so dead when they were locked in that room because they were greedy. Because they asked for more money, and I was like, no villains ask for more money without there being any consequences in a movie.
Yeah, no, that definitely wasn't gonna...
And you know he's going to be bad because he's a Cockney.
Yeah.
No Cockneys are ever good in movies.
Yeah, I want to see someone defy that trope.
Yeah, just look really skeezy and scummy and have a Cockney accent and they'll just be the good guy. Why did you think I was the thief? What?
That's profiling, that is.
Yes. Brilliant. I'm a doctor, I am.
But I'm not a murderer, I'm not.
Brilliant.
So yeah, they get all the stuff that you expect to happen out of the way so that the other story can happen.
Yeah.
And, well, this was The Rock's first major film. He's got presence in the opening.
Yeah.
And then he comes back as a Scorpion Man.
He's only in the last 20 minutes, but I like how he's the Scorpion King and they literally had to make him a literal Scorpion King. It couldn't just be a metaphorical, honorific title to show how badass he is.
Which it was in life. So, like...
Yeah, I mean, it would be like if in The Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio was a literal wolf man.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to take it so literally. He can just be a metaphorical wolf or a metaphorical scorpion.
And the CGI was just...
It was so
hilarious.
bad. It looked like
Even
a 1990...
time.
It was bad for its time, I'll say, because this was early 2000s. It looked very much like an old Peter Gabriel music video.
Yeah.
Especially with the water face. The water face looked worse than the sand face in the last one. It just looked like something from an episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah. I think it would have been a lot better if they just had The Rock come out and beat both of them up.
Yeah, as himself, that would have been more intimidating.
Well, as the Scorpion King, not as Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That would have been slightly immersive.
Is that Dwayne Rock Johnson? You know, I think it is.
Yeah, the door opens. If you smell
what the rock is cooking.
Yeah. And he just clotheslines the both of them.
Brilliant. I liked the new characters in this one. There were some really good new additions. We've got the son, Alex. He's really good because you could buy that he is Brendan Fraser's son. He has the personality, he has the charisma, he's interested in the archaeology, which is just as well considering what his parents do for a living.
Yeah.
And he's pretty smart and resourceful, like he rescues himself a few times with the whole thing in the toilet where...
He leaves the trail for them to follow.
Yeah, by building intricate sandcastles that definitely wouldn't take hours for anybody to do. He manages that, though, because he's a clever child, and clever children are better than, like, the best artists.
Apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good. He was a good child actor as well. Hopefully he was in other things and he had a success.
Did Imhotep have telekinesis in the first one?
Do you know what? I pointed this out, because I don't remember him having telekinesis in the first one.
I don't remember him having telekinesis in the first one, although he must have.
Sudden telekinesis, I suppose.
I'm saying he must have. Maybe I just accepted it as a kid that that's a thing he can do now. I mean, he can turn into sand and make a tsunami with his face. I'm not going to question him suddenly being telekinetic.
Well, exactly. It's kind of like how they add new force powers in every Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
It's like, he can just do different things. Like, in the next one, he'll be able to fly.
I mean, technically he can if he turns into sand anyway. So
That's right! He's like the smoke monster from Lost. Speaking of which, Mr. Echo from Lost is in this.
Yeah.
He's the tertiary villain who is one of the henchmen.
Yeah, Loch Na he's called.
Yeah.
He's basically the counterpoint, the foil to Ardeth, the Medjay guy,
Death for
the
Medjay
tattooed
guy.
man. You know who I mean?
I know who you mean.
um,
Yeah, I thought that was quite good. And also, I just realised there's a Mummy Returns reference in Lost, because there's an episode where Mr. Echo says, "Don't mistake coincidence for fate." And that line is uttered in this movie. Not by him, but it's in this movie. So, obviously, there's a Mummy Returns reference. And considering both movies are obsessed with ancient Egypt, that makes sense.
yeah.
Also, there was the wife character who's in this one a lot more, as in the wife of Imhotep. And you could tell straight away she was going to be Egyptian because she's got the Egyptian haircut.
Yeah.
All Egyptian women had that haircut. It's a scientific, historical fact.
Patricia Velasquez comes back as the reincarnation of Imhotep's old flame, and then later kills herself to return her soul to that body.
Do you know what? There's one twist in this movie I really didn't like, and that was at the end of the movie, where you've got the bit where Evie runs out to save Rick because he's dangling off the cliff, and Imhotep's also dangling off the cliff, and the wife can go out to save him, but she just runs away.
Ups and leaves him.
Yeah. What was up with that? Because the one believable thing about both of these movies is how much in love the two of them are.
Yeah, their relationship was never in doubt.
Exactly. Like, I don't care how shitty the CGI is. The most believable part of all these movies is that those two are very deeply in love and will do anything for each other. That's basically the premise of both movies. And she kills herself twice for him, and also she kills other people and fights Evie to the death for him, only to decide, okay, I don't love this man enough to run out and save him from a ledge.
Yeah, that was a bit out of the blue. Yeah, what was also a bit out of the blue was when she stabbed Evie. Like, they had no reason to kill her.
Yeah, like in this life, they've got no real reason to fight. I think it was just to rub their faces in it.
Yeah, it definitely was.
And that end twist was really weird, considering how linear the rest of the movie is.
Yeah.
Because, think about it, you've got several things that are meant to be twists. One being that Evie dies, but she's not dead because the music's not somber enough, the scene isn't sad enough. If she was going to stay dead, they would have made a lot more of it than they did. It was just kind of like, oh, she's dead, now here's the same Roger Rabbit soundtrack as we continue to fight. It just doesn't embrace the moment, does it? So she's not going to stay dead.
Yeah, the score kind of betrays the scene, not in the moment, but soon after.
Yeah. It was very much, oh no, anyway. It had that feel about it. Like, it's okay, I can save her. Oh yeah, that's okay, we'll save her. Like, that's because death means nothing.
Yeah.
And the other one is when the airship has crashed because it got drowned by the Peter Gabriel face. And it's irreparable. There is nothing they can do to fix this airship. It is stated categorically, over and over again, it looks irreparable. And they repair it. They repair the airship.
And he says he needs gas to get it off the ground. Hot air is not going to cut it. And even if you could finagle it to take hot air, it's too big.
Yeah.
Like, these are words that he says. Now, the direct quote is, maybe I could finagle this thing to take hot air, but do you know how many cubic meters I'd need? It's too big.
Yeah, he does it. Yeah, he does it. And you know what? This whole situation could have been saved by just having the airship be less damaged when it crashes.
Yeah, or, I don't know, him having a leftover gas reserve.
Yeah, just sitting around.
That miraculously survived the crash.
Oh my god, my voice is so high, we're in this cave full of helium. Excellent, we can use that. Something like that. So maybe a bit less contrived, but the weird thing is, if there was just like the scene where it says, no, I'll stay behind and repair the airship, then I can guarantee that 99% of moviegoers would completely forget that scene for the next 30 minutes, and then it would be a surprise at the end. Still.
Yeah. That doesn't fly in the face of the fact that there was clearly no way he was getting that off the ground.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Because of course they have a steampunk airship.
Yeah. I really liked the dirigible, even as a kid. I'd love to have one of those.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an aesthetically pleasing design, although it's very weird that it's got the body of a boat, but it's got floats. Boats float. You don't need floats on a boat.
No, I mean, by definition.
So what if what happens if they break off? You've just got a boat. That's fine for landing on water.
Yeah.
Perfect. No harm done. No harm done.
I wonder if they could take off from water in that, like, I don't know, somehow decommission, like, take the balloon down and sail for a bit. And then when they come to land, just put the balloon up and take off.
See, that makes sense. It's kind of like how there's the aircraft carrier in Shields, in the MCU, that can also fly.
Yeah.
I mean, why do they keep it in the air all the time? Surely it would save a lot of money if they just kept it in the ocean for a while.
I think they were, well, time was a factor.
Yeah, so like, forget this floating shit, let's fly for a bit.
All Rick was thinking about was getting his son back, and, he was not going to tolerate any loss in speed.
Yeah, there's no point in taking a
Izzy was clearly scared of him because every time he involves himself with O'Connell, he gets shot, apparently. Last time he got shot in the arse.
Ha. I liked that new character. It was basically them admitting that they made a mistake in killing off Winston in the last one.
No, I like Izzy though, like as his own character.
Yeah, he is his good own character, and he's sort of like a more fun and charismatic version of Winston.
Of course, the steampunk airship dirigible has jet boosters.
Yeah, because they had those in the 30s. It's weird how all the rest of the technology is
consistent.
Yeah, consistent with the time, except for this one thing.
Yeah.
It's like, why is there steampunk all of a sudden? Are they going to have a mech suit in the third one?
Mind you, Izzy does give off, like, where he lives gives off the impression of a crackpot inventor. Yeah. So,
Oh yeah, I mean, he has the eye patch even though he doesn't need it, which is a funny little joke.
Yeah. Oh.
And I said this in the last review, but this feels very Avatar: The Last Airbender just because of the character dynamics.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, the character dynamics are established very quickly.
Yeah.
Like Rick and Evie, like, a scene I really like is in the beginning where they're raiding that tomb, and Evie's very careful to avoid all of the insects and the scorpions and tarantulas, and then Rick just sort of plows on over them soon after.
Yeah, you know the difference straight away.
And she wants to use a hammer and chisel to open a tablet, and then Rick gets a crowbar. Like, that is their dynamic. He's the brute that just rushes in, and she's the delicate, careful one that's always very cautious.
Yeah, and then of course you've got the comic relief one who's introduced a little bit later as well, the brother.
Yeah, and then it later turns out that she's a reincarnated princess.
It didn't come up in the first one, but that does explain why she got mistaken for an Egyptian woman.
Yeah.
See,
I
do you know what?
You could.
I don't think she's really Egyptian, to be honest, because she's not got the haircut.
No.
She's not got the haircut. You've got to have the haircut if you're an Egyptian woman.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're born with it.
Yeah, that's just how it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, also, the effects were very cheesy in this one. I feel like we've talked about this already, but the CGI was so bad.
Well, for the Scorpion King, anyway. Everywhere else, it was all right.
No. There was the bracelet where he does the hologram and it looks like Bicentennial Man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the mouth shooting out of the bracelet just made me laugh.
Yeah.
This movie is unintentionally funny as often as it is intentionally funny.
Yeah. And, well, it's a very feel-good movie. There's the swashbuckling scenes with the exciting score, all of that stuff.
Yeah, the score was very fun in this.
Yeah.
So, Ollie, how well did the film achieve its goals? And what were they?
Reasonably well, I think. I mean, if you're going to make a sequel to The Mummy, I think this is a good way to do it.
It's held in high esteem.
It's definitely not as good a film, but I like it. I don't like it any less.
And most people know that sequels aren't going to be as good as the original.
Yeah. Now, I think it's a good sequel. Like, it doesn't try to retread the plot. It doesn't waste time in repeating things that had to happen. Like we've gone over. Imhotep comes back and is regenerated like that.
Yeah.
Because we've seen that before. Let's just get it over with.
Because he becomes the sideshow by the end of it anyway.
One thing I do love, though, they never really go into the explanation of that cult of Imhotep that dig him up.
It just stands to reason there would be one.
As soon as he wakes up, his first question is, what year is it? They tell him it's the year of the Scorpion, and he's like, bitchin', let's go kill him.
Yeah, I like how upbeat he is about it.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, he doesn't need any convincing or, proof that these guys are on his side. He's just for it. I'm up for whatever. I'm immortal. Let's do it.
Yeah, there's something very here we go again about this movie, on everyone's part.
Yeah.
Because I like how they met the protagonists talk about this like this is just an average weekend for them. Like, here we go again. We've got more ancient Egyptian shit to do, more supernatural stuff to fight.
You get the impression that Rick and Evie have been raiding tombs for a long time. Like, they feel comfortable enough with it to take their 8-9-year-old boy with them on these expeditions.
My theory is they're taking him with them on dangerous ones just so that he can rescue them.
I mean, that's what happened in the first one.
Yeah, because there was a whole water situation, wasn't there?
Yeah, and he, quite by accident, broke the wall that they were trapped behind.
Because he's clumsy, like his mom is that one time and never again.
Yeah.
One time and never
Also
again.
that one time and never again.
Yeah, he's never clumsy again. Everybody gets one clumsy situation.
And then it really establishes Jonathan's character, because, like, Rick's not even fazed when he walks into the room and sees Jonathan surrounded by men in turbans holding him at knife point, and he's like, oh god, what have you done now?
I just was under the impression that he thought it was kinky shit at first.
Well, he says, knowing my brother-in-law probably deserves whatever you're about to do to him. But this is my house and I have certain rules.
That was a nice scene.
Yeah.
It just establishes the tone of the movie very well. The beginning of this movie is just textbook.
I love how at the beginning of that fight scene is someone throwing something at Rick, him catching it and throwing it back.
Oh my god, that was such an epic moment because we know it's silly, we know that nothing like that would happen in real life, but we don't care. It's just a fun movie.
First a snake, then a knife.
he eats the snake, and then he yeets the knife.
Yep.
And they both got yeeted at him.
Yes, indeed they did.
It comes back and it's brilliant.
Yeah. And then Jonathan hiding in the bath.
Oh, that was so good. They steal the double-decker bus.
Yep, it's such a silly movie, but I love it.
I like how the police just don't give a shit about that.
Yeah, there's no legal ramifications for the insane amount of property damage that they've caused.
I mean, in today's money, that would be like millions of damage with all the stuff they smash, and they rip the top off the bus as well. It's a good thing that Rick wasn't standing up at the time.
He had the presence of mind to duck, which, was a risk.
Yeah, he could very well have been dead. But
the mummies broke the wall of the British Museum. That's not going to come cheap.
No, well, it's not their fault that the mummies came back. But...
Well, yeah, but they can't prove it wasn't them.
That's true. I mean, you can't exactly say, no, it wasn't us, it was the undead. Oh, that old excuse again. Imagine a jury, dealing with that.
Yeah, that would not go well for them.
Yeah, and also there was the whole "Are we there yet?" scene, because there had to be one of those in this with Mr. Echo.
Yeah.
Although, Ollie, why was there a break in the toilet, like, for the whole train?
I don't know. That's odd.
It's like, would the driver of the train go, okay, there's no one else on the train to steer this, I'm going to go take a shit, and if anything bad happens, I'll just put on the brake?
Yeah.
Is that what it's there for?
To be honest, I think it was there for an excuse for Alex to escape.
Yes, me too. Yes, I will accompany this child to the bathroom so that he can put on the brake that is in the bathroom for some reason.
Yeah.
It's just in case you're on the toilet taking a shit and then you forget something, like, oh no, we need to stop. What kind of train is this?
He's being deliberately as annoying as possible to the guy.
Which I liked, because he knows that he can't kill him, so he's just taking the advantage of the situation.
Yeah.
Do you know what was so brilliant in pantomime?
What?
That bit where Imhotep throws the spear at the rock, and then Rick catches it, and Imhotep's just like, no!
He's like, yeah.
It's so pantomime, and I love it.
It's like he just saw the opposing team score a goal after his prize player fumbled the ball.
I mean, he also looks like a rugby dad.
He does.
He's a rugby dad. Rugby dad Imhotep. Honestly, the effects of this movie were spellbinding.
So, Is the criteria for rugby dad for you just a shaved head?
No, also a certain amount of ruggedness or
Yeah.
scrawniness, one of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. So, Ollie, did this movie exceed your expectations?
Well, no, because I remembered it very well. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but I expected to. I have a lot of nostalgia for this film.
Yeah, you got what you expected then. I must
Yeah.
have seen this before because I do remember vividly some of the scenes in this movie. Like maybe it was on in the background. I think you said that I came over and you were watching it in the background like years ago.
I think so. I seem to remember flashes of that. I think you might have. It was the bit where they were in the Oasis. I seem to remember, and pygmies were chasing people. I don't know. I think you were mucking about on my computer making one of those old videos that we put up on that channel I don't have access to anymore.
Okay, so I was predisposed at the time. I see. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, my expectations, I heard a lot of good things about this movie. A lot of people saying it's brilliant. So, yeah, it was about what I expected it to be.
Yeah.
It lived up to the hype.
Indeed.
And the weak spots, for the most part, of this movie that a lot of people would use to say it's not a good movie are things that appeal to me, mainly the really tacky CGI and the really hammy acting.
Yeah, and just the silliness.
That is all part of the appeal. Yeah, and the silliness, that is all part of the appeal for me.
Yeah.
Is there an element in the film that particularly appeals?
Oh yeah, loads. I like the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser's always good. The cast of The Mummy, like I love the lot of them.
Yeah, it's iconic, isn't it? Like, real iconic.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that's the element that appeals to me. Definitely the cast all round. There's no weak spots. It's not like there's anyone who's letting the side down.
I really like Stephen Sommers. Like, he makes schlock, but it's so entertaining.
I think that's just his specialty. I mean, there's something very
Yeah.
Robert Rodriguez about the special effects as well. I think that's part of the charm. I feel like it's partially intentional. Like, I'm sure that they could have arranged for better special effects to be made, or a slightly better budget to make the CGI look more realistic, but I think they know that the audience don't really care. Or at least
Maybe.
not enough for them to Gollum it and make it look convincing.
Stephen Sommers has a very distinct style. Like, you can tell that Van Helsing was made by the same person who made this.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, I just want to see I want to see a fun, cheesy monster movie, and I got that out of this.
Yeah, this was definitely that.
So, yeah, it's just everything it is appealed to me, I would say. In particular, the cast, but also just the aesthetic. And I kind of like the whole interwar archaeology genre.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
I enjoy it as a setting. It's got a good aesthetic to it. It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like Indiana Jones, really, in that regard.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I said in our Mummy review, The Mummy was probably the film to come closest to recapturing the magic of Indiana Jones, even if it didn't quite manage it.
Yeah, I mean, they would be an absolute legends if they just got the original cast together, like you say, for a Mummy 4.
Yeah, I mean, this was a lot more corny. Definitely not as good a film, but I really like it.
I feel like the movie makers were sensible enough to understand to play to the strengths.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because the strengths of the first one are the cheesy, humorous moments, the personality of the characters, the interactions between them, the setting, how preposterous a lot of this is. So they just decided, let's do that.
Yeah, lean into it.
Yeah, lean into it. You know, don't try and make it grim, dark, and serious. Just let them have fun.
Nah, it's never gonna work.
Yeah, like
A grim, dark The Mummy was never gonna work. Now I haven't seen. Well, I did.
Yeah.
But I remember very little of the original 1932 Boris Karloff version of The Mummy.
Yeah.
But that, and obviously it's not fair to compare the two because it was such a different time. Acting was different back then because the technology hadn't quite evolved so much.
Well, even talking movies were new back then.
Yeah, 1932. Like, obviously back then the acting was hammy.
Well, that's why they're called hammy horror films.
No, that you're thinking of Hammer horror films. That's a different.
Right, yeah.
a film of that sort of time, I'm sure there is a good way to do a grimdark version of The Mummy, but I think it's a lot harder to do than and get right and have people like it than this.
Also, it would feel like a huge waste of the cast they've got if they tried to do it with that particular cast.
Brendan Fraser has got legit action hero and comedy chops. So, like, to not use all of that would be kind of a waste. And also, John Hannah's just the best.
He is. I love him in these movies. He's just so relatable and funny.
Yeah.
And as you know, I'm a big fan of his later work as well.
Yeah. Although, now that I know he's Scottish, I can hear his accent slipping when it does.
It does slip a few times, in particular when Evie's died. I think it slipped a bit there.
When I was a kid, I didn't know he was Scottish, and I didn't see him in anything else until I watched Spartacus.
Yeah, and he's Scottish in Spartacus, even though he's an Italian man.
He's very Scottish in Spartacus.
Even though he's an Italian man, he has a heavy Scottish accent.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And then there was, of course, A Touch of Cloth.
Yes.
Which is brilliant, and you should watch it.
Yeah, if you've got nothing else to do today, viewer, please just watch that for the rest of your day. Such a fun show.
It's like The Naked Gun, but it's John Hannah. It's very funny.
They don't make stuff like The Naked Gun anymore, and I just love that style of parody.
Yeah.
It's just not done anymore, and I love it. I wish they would do it again.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably cover one of the Naked Guns or more eventually.
That's a shout. I didn't think of them. We should do that. So, yeah, the question was, how does the film hold up today? I would say really well. Not the special effects, definitely not the special effects, but I feel like that's part of
this
why
film
I
is
liked
on
it.
TV a lot, and I think that's a really good place for it to find its audience.
It's a TV movie.
Yeah, stick it on TV on a Friday night. It'll be a laugh.
I mean, this got a cinematic release, but I also would have believed it was straight to video. And I don't mean that in a bad way, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's one of those movies you watch in the comfort of your own home, isn't it?
Yeah,
like,
it's
like
definitely...
If it was a special event post-COVID where they showed the old Mummy movies, I probably would go and see them.
Yeah. Would definitely go and see this in the cinema.
Then again, after a year and a half of being locked in a house, I definitely would be up for anything. I don't care what it is.
I mean, I'd go and see...
I'd do jury duty, honestly.
Yeah, you'd just be glad for the chat.
Exactly. Like, can we stay a bit longer? I know that it's obvious that he's guilty, but can we just use the opportunity to shoot some shit?
Not for nothing. Can you believe the last time we were in the same room was over a year ago?
Don't say that, it makes me sad. If I remember correctly, it's a year and a week to this day.
Yeah, it was 1st of March. We went to see Jolly Boat.
Oh my god, that is... Okay, yeah, let's talk about something else. How does the film hold up today?
How does the film hold up today? If it was released today exactly as it is now, I doubt it'd do very well.
Imagine that. I could just imagine everybody nitpicking how bad the special effects are. This looks like a movie that was made in the 80s.
I mean, CGI Scorpion King didn't hold up then, so it holds up even worse now.
No, it's kind of legendary for how bad the special effects are, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although, having said that, I do think Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was the right person for this particular role at this particular time in his career.
Yeah.
Because this was before he was really an internationally household name who's in every comedy action movie.
I think it was his first film. Let me look it up to confirm that.
Because he's been in so many movies in the last few years, he's kind of oversaturated, like he's in the Jumanji movies, all sorts. And like you say, this was probably one of his first cinematic roles.
Possibly the first.
Possibly the first. So it was good because he was an unknown at the time, and that kind of works for this kind of character. Like, if he got the Arnold Schwarzenegger to be him, it wouldn't have had the same impact.
Let's see.
You would have just seen Arnie as a scorpion.
He was in a documentary about wrestling called Beyond the Mat in 1999, but his first film role was The Mummy Returns, yeah.
Makes sense. Ollie, finally, was the film received appropriately at the time?
I'm not actually sure how it was received at the time.
Okay, interesting. It's had a slightly higher budget of 98 million.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know, would you?
Not really.
No, but it actually made 435 million, which is, I think, 17 million more than the first one did.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had mixed reviews at the time, but it was a commercial success. But the interesting thing is, at the time, a lot of the reviews from various journalistic sources like Empire, those sorts of places, are 3 to 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
It got a few accolades, like they got some awards for best makeup, best fantasy film, best special effects. Really? Oh, they were nominated. I see. Okay, but yeah, Dwayne Johnson got a Teen's Choice Award for the best movie villain, and also worst supporting actor. Oh my god, worst supporting actor from Stinker's Bad Movie Awards.
I mean, for the CGI Scorpion Man, maybe, but I thought he was pretty instantly believable as the human Scorpion King.
I agree. I mean, it's not like The Rock was at the computer doing the special effects himself, although that would explain a lot.
Yeah.
So why do I have to do this? I'm just an actor. Oh, CGI guy's on holiday. You've just got to do it, I'm afraid, Dwayne. This isn't what I'm good at. And you'll see
I'm not trained for this.
I'm not trained for this. Well, too bad. You've got the job. Yeah, I mean, it deserves more accolades than that, but at least it got some.
No, I would say it was received appropriately at the time.
Well, I'm just going to have a look on Rotten Tomatoes first. I nearly searched for Rotten Tomatoes on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, at least among audiences, like, I think there's a reason the first two Mummy movies are still talked about today very fondly.
Okay, I'm just going to see what it says. Interesting, Ollie. Interesting. I'm on 47% on the tomato meter. That's a bit low.
Yeah, that seems a bit harsh.
And
although, what's the average score? That's a more accurate reading.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that it says you might also like, and one of the options is Batman and Robin. Yeah, so the audience score is 63%, which feels a bit better.
Yeah, but what does it say on the tomato meter? Like,
So yeah, according to this, it's more 53%, which isn't that much of a disparity from 47, but that's still quite low.
Yeah. Critics' consensus: in The Mummy Returns, the special effects are impressive.
What? What?
But the characters seem secondary to the computer-generated imagery.
How old is that critics' consensus? Because I'm pretty sure...
I don't agree with either of those points.
And it's weird that you watch that movie and the first thing you think to write is, yeah, the special effects are impressive, and that the characters seem secondary. I mean, if nothing else, this is a very character-driven movie.
Apart from the Scorpion King himself, most of the special effects are alright.
And apart from the Scorpion King himself, most of the characters' main appeal comes from their dialogue and their charisma and the way they interact with each other.
Yeah, I don't agree with that critics' consensus at all.
No, I feel like somebody didn't even watch the movie and they just typed that up.
Yeah, maybe. So, no, apparently the film was not received appropriately at the time.
No.
Mind you, some of these critics' reviews were written in 2020.
What? How's that impressive to anybody in 2020?
No, this was a negative one. The non-stop action sequences are comparable to the original, though the timing and execution here lack the creativity and momentum needed to truly match up.
I think it had plenty of creativity.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think they were a bit harsh on this one, but then I've got a lot of nostalgia for it, so I'm going to say that.
Yeah, I don't think it does anything particularly egregious, except for that one thing at the end. That's the one thing I didn't like about this movie. Everything else was fine.
Yeah.
So, Ollie, would you care to sum up your feelings?
Well, what can I say? It's The Mummy Returns. I've seen it many, many times. I enjoyed seeing it again. It's an old favourite from my childhood. Watch this one if you haven't. But also watch the first one if you also haven't. Preferably first.
It doesn't make sense without the first one. You don't really have the context of how they all know each other.
I think it uses the first one as a jumping off point really well.
It doesn't waste your time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel the need to...
re-establish.
Yeah, well, or at least the stuff it is establishing. These are different characters now, except for Jonathan, maybe.
Yeah, they're just like several years older. They're now in a committed relationship. They now have a child to worry about, and that's how the characters have changed. And obviously they've got to know each other a lot better as well.
Yeah.
And that comes across well.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a film I really liked in my childhood. I still really like it. I would recommend it to anyone. Like, stick it on TV in the background while your friends are over. It'll be a laugh.
They do not look 10 years older, though.
No, they don't.
They just needed to be old enough to have a son who can do all the things that he does, so I know why they did the time skip, but they do not look 10 years older. They have aged beautifully for people who go around the desert raiding temples.
Yeah.
Okay, my feelings. Really liked the characters, really liked the comedic moments. I thought the story was simple, very easy to understand, and that's all a good thing. I liked the new additions, the new characters. I still am rubbed the wrong way by the ending. That doesn't sit well with me, the way that she abandons Imhotep, even though they're in love. Imhotep was good in this one. He's not the same dominating force as in the last one, but that's also because he's also not the final boss, as it were.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, the weakest part of this is probably the titular Scorpion King. Well, no, it's not titular. He got his own movie later.
He's essentially a plot device.
Yeah, he's more a plot device than a villain, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. I'm told that the third one isn't anywhere near as good, but I'm curious to see it based on the strength of this.
I've only seen that one once, maybe twice, so I don't really remember much of it. Although Rachel Weisz doesn't come back to play Evie in the third one. She's replaced, and it is very noticeable.
So she doesn't even look remotely like Rachel Weisz?
No, it's not bad, it's just really noticeable. Like, she doesn't have the same chemistry with Brendan Fraser. There's another time skip. So
Are they old men
in the third one... Well, no, but Alex is grown up now.
I see. It'd be funny if Brendan Fraser was like in a retirement home and he still looks like he was 30. Back in my day? What do you mean back in your day? You look like you're 30. No, I'm 80.
Well, we'll probably cover that because it's a 2008 movie.
Yeah, I feel like that recast was an unwise decision. Yeah, what have we got next week? We've got Encino Man next week. It's now available on a streaming service.
Yeah, we can actually watch that one now. That was going to be this week, and we were going to do this next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I hope you're enjoying Fraser February in the month of March. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Oh, mercy. See you next week.
See you next week. Subscribe if you like.
Please.
I'm not your boss.
Please. Although if you were, then you would be a terrible employer.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know what your name is.
See you soon. Goodbye.
See ya.